Dr. Darnita L. Payden, and my purpose is to educate, encourage, and enlighten. Thank you so much for taking the time to stop by my channel today. I am so grateful that you are here. We are continuing our series on 5 tips for tax prep and organization. And I hope that you watched the first video where we talked about gathering those receipts so that when tax time comes, you are prepared. So please go back and watch the first part of this series and then come back and join us where we're going to talk about donations today. And I still have with me our very special guest, Miss Sulena Long, and she's going to tell you a little bit about herself.
Well, hello, Dr. Payden. Sulena Long here. Happy to be a part of this conversation. I absolutely love that we talked about receipts initially, but I'm Sulena Long, and pretty much what I do is offer services to seniors and their families. So any senior that pretty much wants to age in place and stay in that home for as long as they desire, but even the ones who are moving into the downsizing process. So what we do is help them move through that process as simply as possible. Of course, a large part of that is professional organizing and decluttering. So we always say, keeping it simple. So that's what I do.
I love that. And as we said in the first video, keeping it simple, keep it simple, sweet. We're always nice and cordial here on our channel. So let's jump right in and talk about, and because Ms. Long said she worked with seniors, that doesn't mean that these tips can't work for someone from 8 to 80. Right, for anyone, although we're talking about tax prep, also we know 8-year-olds, and well, I don't know now because a lot of these 8-year-olds are entrepreneurs and they have their own businesses. So
exactly,
who knows what our audience is looking like today? So let's say it like this: for anyone who has to do tax prep, we want to talk about how to deal with donations. And we were joking before we got started about, everyone wants to be really kind and they want to help those who are less fortunate. And so they want to give the things that they no longer need, or they want to give the things that need a new home. And so we were joking that you want to make sure when you're giving your donations, that you always want to give something that is very gently used, right? You want to give something, you don't want to give someone like a radio t-shirt that has holes in it more than at the neck and the arms and for your body to go. Right?
Absolutely not.
You don't want to do that. So when we're talking about, gather your donations, but make sure that they are gently used and that they're, that although they've worn out their time with you, that they still have years of life to go. So I guess that would be, the first part of talking about donations is making sure that you give, as I could say, give your best, even though it's outlived its time with you. What do you think about that, Ms. Long?
Yes, I absolutely agree with that. Don't give something that if a family member of yours were using it, you'll be embarrassed for them to walk alongside you, right? Definitely give things that that still has some use in it, and you would be proud if it was given to you. So think about it that way. If it was given to you, would I be okay with utilizing this? And that can be from clothing to whether it's accessories in the home, whatever it is, but just things that that you wouldn't have a problem using and you wouldn't be embarrassed by it.
That is excellent. And you may be saying, well, how does that tie into tax prep and organization? Well, that's the organization part of it all. Remember, we're talking about this twofold. So you want to make sure that you identify those things. And as we talked about in the last video, both of us are proponents of doing things along the way so that there's not that mad dash at the end of the year to go find all the donations that you want to give and then find a place, because in the state that we're in right now, there are a lot of places that may not still be receiving donations. So that's the prep part of the donation part for taxes, making sure that you don't wait till the very last minute. Again, make sure that you give away the things that are gently used and still have a lot of life. And as Ms. Long said, that you want to walk next to it if somebody else gave it to you. So we want to make sure that you do that. And then, but for the actual tax part of it, we were also joking that, the donations, we have an idea of what our things are worth, or we may have some sentimental attachment to it. That's real life, folks. I'm not going to edit that out. That was her phone ringing. We're going to keep on rolling. We keep on going because she's very important. Somebody's probably calling her to get some help, one of those seniors. But what we're talking about for, preparing for your donations and making sure that you know what they're worth. I was saying that we all have this attachment to our things, and we may think, well, that's worth $500 or that's worth $1,000. But here's the thing to keep in mind, and I'm sure Ms. Long can talk about this. It may be in your mind worth that much, but if someone else would not pay for it, and more importantly, if the government doesn't say that it has that worth or that value, then you can't claim it for that. So Ms. Long, you want to talk about maybe some ways that they can figure out what their items are worth?
Yes, definitely. So I would always say that to go online and kind of do a search, right? You can do just a quick search as to whatever the item may be, generally what's the price range. And whatever that price is, depending on how long you've had it, I would say at least decrease it by somewhere between 25 to 40% of that value.
Oh, you just heard us, Ms. Long.
I know, because a lot of times we tend to inflate the value of our things, right? And really and truly, it's not. It's not. So, yeah. So anywhere between 25 to 40%, cut it off and say, okay, that's around the range.
Insert sad face here. You just hurt a lot of people's feelings on that depreciation, but that's an excellent point. Again, if it's not brand new, and it could still even be brand new and have depreciated. So keep in mind that although it may be worth millions to you, it may not be worth millions to anyone else. And as she just said, just cut the 40% right on off the top. She just hurt a lot of feelings. That was her people. That wasn't me.
Yes, I take full responsibility. Full responsibility. Exactly.
She's telling the truth. She's telling the truth. It's not brand new.
I would share a little story. I recently said, okay, I had some items and I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and take it to a thrift store, right? And I'm talking about some of these was like Karl Lagerfeld, you know what I mean? Not all some of the brand name stuff. And when the lady told me, oh, we'll offer you, I think $20, I looked at her
like this face.
Reality check. You know what I mean? I was like, $20? Mm-hmm. Do you know how much I paid for this stuff? You know what I mean? But yes, so a lot of times we definitely tend to inflate the value, and it's not. It's really not that. Yeah.
And that really hurts. Yeah, that hurts a lot of people. And I know we're talking about taxes, but we can make that. We could talk about that being in life, because both of us have clients who I'm sure have said, well, I don't want to discard that because it costs this much. And I always tell them, but you've already spent the money. And unless you can return it, you're never going to get the full value back. So that was a lesson learned that you just shared with the lady trying to give you $20.
Yes, exactly.
So keep in mind when you're trying to evaluate how much your donations are worth. So we've talked about, making sure that you give your best, that you don't give anything that no one else would want, and that you are realistic in how much things cost, because you don't want to get in trouble with your uncle, and that would be Uncle Sam, because you've inflated. You say that you donated $20,000 worth of items and maybe your income was 15, right?
Right.
You want to be really careful. It can be easy to just go say, well, I paid $1,000 for this, and I want to know what you paid $1,000 for. But anyway, it can be easy to say I paid $1,000, so it should be worth that. And as Ms. Long just told you, depreciation is a real thing. So there will be some hurt feelings, but it's better to be open and honest. And like she said, go online and just do a quick search to see what it is that it's really worth. What will someone else pay for it? So that was an excellent example. And I guess we can also talk about the donations is, gathering them, because I know I've had clients who said, well, Dr. Payden, I'm holding this for this thing or for that thing. And I'm sure after watching this video, the new thing is going to be, well, I'm holding it for tax purposes.
Mm-hmm.
No. So even if you are, but as you're going through the year, keep an eye on I would say keep all of the things that you think you may want to donate at tax time in a specific place, so that they're all right there. And again, you're not doing that year-end scramble to try and find them. And then one more thing, I like to take pictures of everything that I donate. So if my uncle happens to come back and say, oh, you valued this thing, or you said you donated that thing, I can just show all of the pictures, the proof that I actually did donate that. So keep your things in one place And also I would suggest taking pictures, or if you don't want to take pictures, at least do an itemized list. I know it sounds like a lot, but if you're doing this, as we've told you, along, the entire year, at the end of the year, you're not going to be, running around trying to do the itemized list or do the pictures. What do you think about that, Ms. Long?
Yeah, I absolutely agree to that as far as the itemized list. And also a great habit to put in place is have a box, just maybe right outside your door, that's donation box, and get into the habit of just dropping stuff in there as you go through. And maybe once a quarter, taking that box to the donation place, right? Or wherever you typically donate to, take it to them. Mm-hmm. And as soon as you get that receipt, go back to what we said in the first video, put it in that month, or put it under the D if you have it in alphabetical order, put it in that slot immediately.
Yeah, do you all see what she did? She tied part 2 into part 1. That's an expert right there. So absolutely. So I think we've given you all a lot that you can work with in reference to your donations and what you need to do. So if you have any questions, or if there's anything that you think that we missed, or you'd like to give a tip, please do so down in the comments below. So Ms. Long, I want to thank you for joining us for part 2. Where we talk about what you need to do to make sure that you have all of your donations in place and that you value them, and so that your feelings aren't hurt when you go to try and donate them and find out that they're worth 25 to maybe even 40% less than they were before. So thank you so much for taking the time to stop by my channel today. I am so grateful that you did. If you would please give this video a thumbs up and turn on the bell notification, and do me one favor, tell at least 5 people you know about my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. If you would like more information, please feel free to visit me at drdeclutter.com. That's doctor, the letter D, the word clutter.com. I would be glad to hear from you, and Ms. Long's information will be in the description box if you'd like to reach out to her as well. Again, thank you for taking the time to stop by. And I want you to know, if no one has told you today, that you are absolutely, positively awesome. Take care. God bless. Bye.